Welcome to the Best Cities Global Alliance Community Cafe. My name is Lauren Christie. I'm the Managing Director of Best Cities. And thank you so much for joining us for our spring-summer version of the Community Cafe. We aim through all of these community cafes to share our knowledge with our community, whether you're a client or one of our destination partners. And we aim to share knowledge when it comes to things like impact, legacy, sustainability, and of course, innovation, which is what we're going to be talking about today. We're presenting today a practical guide to AI for association events. So if that's what you tuned in for, you are in the right place. But I am not going to be leading this session. We have our partners at Gevme who are going to be leading the session for us today. So it's my pleasure to hand it over to Jonathan Easton and Karat Singh, who are partners of Best Cities Global Alliance, and they will take it away. So over to the two of you, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks, Lauren, for this and for putting this all together. Let me get started right away. Right. And you guys should be seeing my screen now, yeah? Cool. So hi everyone again, and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be in the world. So pretty excited to be here. I'm Jonathan, co-founder and VP of Design at Gevme, and I have my colleague Kirat, who's our Chief Revenue Officer as well here. So what we're going to cover is a guide or a playbook, as how we are calling it, as to how you can adopt a framework, a playbook to follow, as well as some of the tools that we've built, in order to stay relevant in this very fast changing AI landscape. And of course, we're going to take a particular lens from the meetings and events perspective. So a very quick background about Gevme. Gevme is an event tech company headquartered in Singapore. And our mission is really to address and tackle some of the key challenges of the meetings industry. And we do that by harnessing the power of technology, of data, and of course now of AI. And as such, we've built a series of or a suite of application. And we call that the Event Intelligence Ecosystem that helps organizations firstly run their events. So that's at the operational layer, but also host their event at the commercial layer and the hosting layer. So over here, key stakeholders would be organizers, destinations, sponsors. But also last and not least to prove the value of their events. And that's the impact and the advocacy layer over here. So this is what we're going to go through some of the tools from this suite here, and following a playbook that we've come up with. So as a starting point, I'm going to briefly touch on some of the more or less common challenges I would say that associations are facing. And to set that into context, in fact, I'm going to start by going back to earlier this year, February, at BestCities Global Forum itself that was held in Guadalajara. So that was part of the association forum session. And it was a very interesting one. So I was there myself as well, so there was 6 group of association leaders and other team members. And we spent some time there to actually identify some of the top challenges that is really keeping them at night, right? And some of you might have been in the room there. So it was very interesting. And with SnapSite in the background capturing the live video and the key takeaways, and hence why we can report on that today. But probably the most interesting takeaways would be about the overarching challenges that really cut across all the different groups, right? So the groups were there, so with the different themes in terms of member engagement, legacy and impact, partnership, digital transformation. But what really cut across all of them was the following. So firstly, revenue sustainability. So under the very high cost pressure and stretched team challenges today. Value proposition erosion, again, in a world which is changing very rapidly and with a lot of competition. And lastly, the inability to articulate and to prove the value and the impact that they are bringing. So, and I'm sure that this would resonate with many of you. And this kind of sets the context or the background to what we are touching on today, because what all of these point to is that so the value of that an association creates is real, but the problem is that that value is leaks away. So it's not captured, it's not recorded, and therefore it's not recognized. And that's a problem, because if you cannot demonstrate your value that you're bringing to the table, then it becomes difficult to secure funding or to secure partnership or to maintain your membership. So from that perspective, that's why instead of asking like more practical questions like how do we engage members or how do we do this or how do we do that, the question that we propose and that the playbook in fact answers is, so how do we stop losing the value that we are creating and instead capture it and prove it? And so that's the playbook. That's what the playbook is for, where we are identifying 3 moments where value to some extent really leaks, and which finally with AI, we are able to close the gap. So firstly, at the planning phase, so plan. So where now with AI, you are able to plan the gathering with the capacity of a far bigger team than what you probably are. So by amplifying your team's capabilities. Secondly, by amplifying and capturing and spreading the educational value that your event creates. And last but not least, where you prove the value, the impact that your event and congress and conference is bringing. And you do that in a language that, whether it's your board or your sponsors or any other stakeholders, that they cannot really argue with, and where the value is really clear. So this is where really AI is making it possible now, or possible today. And that's how we've been leveraging AI to build these solutions. So that sets the context for this. And I'm going to pass it over to Kirat now to start with the plan stage.
Thanks, John. I'll quickly just share my screen. Okay. Well, thanks for setting the context, John. What I'll do next is, in fact, I'll go ahead and cover some of those specific leaks that John mentioned, and how some of the solutions that we've got are actually solving for those as well. So it all starts with the planning phase, right? And in a sense, one of the tools that we've built in collaboration with BCMA has been Spark, which was, it's not just a generic AI tool, it was built in collaboration, and you could call it more a co-created tool with the events industry itself. Because we've sat in rooms, sat in workshops together with planners, association meeting planners, and so on and so forth, in order to develop this platform. So what it hosts is a huge level of context, which the generic AI tools kind of lack. And what it's really meant to do is kind of enhance your team's event team's productivity. You could do things like, building a 2-day conference agenda, writing a speaker bio directly from LinkedIn. So it's as simple as kind of pasting a LinkedIn URL, and it kind of starts curating speaker bios, because we know that it can be very daunting, especially when you're running an association event which has 200 speakers across, and you're meant to kind of start compiling bios for each of them when they're also notoriously slow in responding to your emails. So this kind of helps you automate a bunch of those tasks, as well as taking it a step further and revisiting some of the session recordings that you could then convert into marketing materials itself. So what I'll do is I'll give you a bit of a snippet of how that works and potentially give you some real examples as well of how associations are leveraging it. In general, what Spark does is it kind of cuts across various different categories. So it goes from content generation to repurposing, brainstorming, analysis, and legal. And we're continuously kind of adapting and building more and more functionalities within the platform, especially at the rate of which AI is moving right now. It is very, very fast, and it can be quite overwhelming. So what Spark is built to do is it's to abstract you from that the whole kind of chasing to see which model is performing better, in which week. So it kind of is built across different large language models. Now, to get started, right, the very first example that I wanted to highlight here is actually that of generating an RFP. An RFP is a document that could be very specific, or you could have a very specific format that you generate your own RFPs. But within Spark, what you're able to do is you're able to kind of prepare that event brief with obviously the core details and kind of provide it the relevant context. And what it is able to do is it's able to kind of start churning out that piece of document, which would previously be very, very manual, where you're copy pasting, it could be error prone as well. And in this case, Spark then behaves like your assistant and creates that first version or more like a draft of that RFP. So let me dive right into the example, right? That's exactly how kind of things within Spark work, where context is king. So on the left side, what you'll see is what I've keyed in a lot of the context and given it information of what that RFP should be about. So in this case, we'll be generating a venue RFP. What it then does is once you click generate, it starts coming up with this compile list of an RFP, which is a highly detailed document. By the way, this can take up to 50 seconds to a minute for it to run. And what you could do is you could actually download that directly as a doc as well, which can then be rolled out on your preferred platforms, but also to be sent out via email, etc. So that's one example of how Spark kind of allows you to kind of save time and then again kind of be productive. You would also notice that there's this little prompt bar at the bottom that allows you to go further and kind of reiterate and ask it to kind of make adjustments to the first draft itself. So then it becomes a lot more holistic as a document that you're able to share as well. The other aspect is, which becomes a very, very important topic for most associations, is the budget, right? And we've been hearing a lot of conversation around how budgets have been shrinking and so on and so forth. But a very basic task that you do at the start of your congress or your event planning journey is that you're building a budget. You might be using past budgets for reference, but then of course costs are going up. Your destinations might be changing. So then you need to kind of go back and revisit it again and again. And this can often be a time consuming task. So what we did is within Spark, in fact, we built something that allows you to create the budget directly based on the event type. You can specify your estimated attendance, the total budget that you are looking to plan within. And what it will do is it will also cater for some specific vendor requirements that you've got. By the way, what I'm showing you right now is a very simple way of looking at budgets. Maybe you have further nuances. Those can always be added in as well within Spark. So think of it as kind of like a curated workflow that you've now created, which then allows you to start churning out validated results, as well as things that you can straight away start utilizing to get ahead in your planning journey as well. It also kind of adds a little bit more layer of, what are some of the things that you should be careful about? Maybe there are service charges and things in certain destinations that you need to be aware of, and so on and so forth. So that's basically how you can actually go about with the build of the budget. The next example is in fact quite interesting wherein sorry, I don't know if you could see my screen properly, but yeah, I think should be fine now. The next aspect is really looking at your existing data and things like your registration data, going into segmentation of what that registration data is in fact telling you. So what are the demographics? What are the different countries that are attending? Who are the profiles that are recurring attendees in your conferences? And then you can in fact use that into and turn it into topics as well as further marketing material such as thought leadership posts. And what that's exactly what we'll do in the next example here. We'll kind of do this structured flow wherein we look at the registration data and understand and segment the audience. We will then look at identifying themes and trends based on the demographics. And then we'll look at writing a thought leadership post. So if you notice, this is a blend of an analysis task as well as kind of a content or a marketing related task. And that's the beauty of AI, is where you can actually start blurring those lines and you're able to achieve a lot more out of just basic data that is sitting in your CRM or your membership portals as well. Let me just quickly show you how that works. So in here, we can actually go in and upload files. And the good thing with Spark is because it is a highly secure environment, you should feel free to kind of, be free to upload this kind of content or data as well, because we do follow the enterprise grade security protocols. And then what you're able to do is you're able to kind of identify or tell it your target audience and what is the thought leadership article topic that you're looking at writing. Now, what it's done is it's churned out an analysis first. It's done that basic data analytical work, and then it has gone into putting its content writer hat and started churning out content straight away from it. So that's where Spark is kind of being used a lot of the times for these repurposed kind of tasks. What I'll do next is I'll actually go to the next stage, which is amplification of your event, of your event content, and how do you create that entire 365 journey that we've always been talking about. So in fact, one thing that we realized is that events are a really, really important space where we are curating and creating a lot of great content in the form of trends, research, practical learnings. In association worlds, if you're looking at running medical conferences, it is highly technical in terms of the content, but also very, very important content as well. So that knowledge and learning actually remains kind of untapped, if you ask me, because as soon as the event is over, all of that content actually sits in a repository with the organizer and it kind of fades away, right? So the point of kind of talking through SnapSite is really being able to capture that live content from events. And that's exactly what the BestCities team is also doing, and convert it into different forms of content, such as key takeaways, summaries, daily recaps that you can start rolling out to your members, or even event reports, and so on and so forth. So all of these are now possible with applications like SnapSite that kind of plays as a plug and play tool in between and captures all of that content for you. When you look at the value for the attendee, or in this case, if these are members who are attending your conferences, that the experience is quite simple actually. They could do a simple scan of a QR code and be able to kind of capture the insights straight away. So kind of like that. I think most of you would have experienced this already if you've been to the global forum that the BestCities team does every year. But essentially what SnapSite allows you to do is it allows you to kind of take away these as something instantaneous, and it's almost happening in real time. So things like key takeaways, topic-wise summaries, but also translations. I know that we've got different destinations probably also joining this webinar right now. So if you've got specific requirements which are, focused on maybe a Spanish speaking audience or a Mandarin speaking audience, within SnapSite, that helps you kind of bridge that gap and make your content even more accessible. Now, once you've captured all of that content, that's a lot of data that you've already got. That allows you to now unlock monetization opportunities as well as thought leadership opportunities that were previously very, very time consuming, but also quite impossible because you are always stretched for resources and you don't have a specific research team sitting and churning out reports, as an example. So what we can do with that existing content now is that we can start compiling insights reports straight away from that content, and these can be highly detailed. These can be highly personalized for your audience as well. So that this is an example of how IMEX has been using it, and IMEX Policy Forum actually curated a specific report for the members who, for the attendees who had attended this policy forum. Similarly, we've got other organizations and associations that are finding this extremely useful, wherein they're now even kind of making this available after the event, making it available on their website, more as a research article, which their members can go and download. And again, unlocking some additional revenue stream for them as well. So that's a quick one on the insights piece. So in fact, your events should be spaces where all of this content becomes, of course, accessible, regardless of background language and accessibility needs, or even learning styles. Now, I spoke about two different tools right now, which was Spark and SnapSite. But Spark and SnapSite actually also speak to each other, and that's where you can unlock a lot more value from it. When you capture real-time content from within SnapSite, you can now churn out an analysis or repurpose your sessions into real-time marketing assets, extracting insights from panel discussions, pulling out key challenges and actionable items, as well as sentiment analysis, and so on, straight within Spark. So all of this can be done within the same day, within the same hour, as soon as your sessions are over as well. I'll show you a quick video of how the Siemens team has been using Spark, and let me just play this, and I hope you all can hear the audio as well.
With using Spark, we had the opportunity to summarize the different sessions in a very quick and fast way. We combined the artificial intelligence of Spark with the natural intelligence of our editors to present back to the audience the summaries of the sessions within a few hours. In the past, this would have taken at least a week or two to get the summaries out and back to the attendees. So this speeded up the way how we communicate to the audience, but it also speeded up how the audience could talk to their peers about what happened in the session.
And that's exactly how teams at Siemens, as well as other organizations, have been leveraging Spark as well as SnapSite as well. And I think this was going to be one of my last examples, which is around ICA, where ICA, in fact, put this event level idea cloud, which was auto-updating in real time during the event itself. This was a picture that I took when this happened at the Abu Dhabi Congress. And the idea was that they wanted this large cube in the center of the expo floor to be able to show this interactive module of all of the topics that are being discussed, not just in one room or one stage, but across all the stages. So now you can actually bring your content to life in a lot of different, more innovative ways as well. So that was a quick showcase for the event level idea cloud. With that, I'll pass it back to John to cover the advocacy layer and the value of the event. How do you prove the value of your event?
All right. So let's move to the proof stage now. And that's the last step, probably the most challenging, but also the most important and most potentially impactful, right? Because that's the stage where it decides whether your events gets the trust of your stakeholders and potentially survive the next budget cycle. And so we all know, at least within our industry here, how events are powerful tools for transformation. But yet, the majority of the impact of events really remains unmeasured, at least for a very long time. So that's exactly the problem that we wanted to tackle, because up to now, so we've been very good at measuring a lot of things, in fact. But it has pretty much been numbers. So numbers, figures, quantitative nature of the data. So number of registration, number of meetings. So this is important, but that's only one side of the story, because the less tangible and the more qualitative impacts, like the transfer of knowledge, right? Community development and the well-being, partnerships which are being created, innovation, talent development. All of these they're also happening, but they're not being seen, they're not being measured, they're not being captured. And so the reason for that is because to show the link that, so you have to go through a lot of through a very intricate web of interconnected metrics. So there's a lot of dependencies between the metrics and the cause and the effect, and involves a lot of analysis of qualitative data. So to be able to prove that has been a challenge. And that's precisely where the opportunity and the capabilities of AI and the tool like Impact AIQ, where these are now being able to be unlocked. So we've partnered with Meet for Impact. I'm sure a lot of you have been know about them. So they are really experts in the field of event impact measurement. So they've spent years developing their expertise in understanding how to prove and how to measure the impact of events. So in fact, they recently released a report together with the Destination Canada, which is a 3 years study where they basically measured and evaluated the impact of more than 15 global conferences across Canada over a period of 3 years. So if you scan the QR code, you'll be able to get access to this. So these teams, so they really know their stuff, and hence the reason why, so we partnered with them. So they come from the expertise of event impact measurement, and then we bring our expertise of tech and AI and combine this together. So how does impact measurement work? Now at the core, I'm not gonna bore you down with a lot of diagrams and everything. At the core, it's very complex, like what we were mentioning, but you can think of it as a very sequential chain of cause and effect. And it all starts with your event, of course. So defining your event, defining the project, and setting the impact intention. So it all starts from there. What do you want to change? What change do you want to see? From there, then there's a series of things that trickle down from there, where you set your objectives, you plan your initiatives and your activities, you measure and you deliver your outputs, then you identify the indicators that you need to measure, metrics. So if this sounds complicated and complex, that's because it is. And that's also precisely where and why it has been a challenge for such a long time to be able to solve this this problem. But the good thing now is that so you don't need to worry too much about the complexity and the details behind the scene, because AI is able to take care of much of it, so that then you can focus on the high level, on your objective and what you want to achieve. So let me now jump into the application to give you a quick overview of that. So I will switch to my browser here. Okay, so you guys should see Impact AIQ. Yep. So this is, and for the demonstration, I'm going to take an example of a project that was set up, which was the Impact Day demo that took place recently in Szczecin, Poland. And I'm going to run through the application here to give you a sense of what it means. So what I try to do is to show so the theory that I just went through, right? So how all of these initiatives and activities are linked to the outcomes and the indicators. So I try to demonstrate that. This application is still work in progress. It's currently in private release, so on request. So it's still being developed, it's still being improved. And I think we're at a very good stage where the value can be shown right here. So that's the dashboard. If you have multiple projects, it will be listed down here. And once you go into one of the project, so this is the Impact Day demo. And so on the dashboard, you will see a short description about the event and the impact intention. So the journey actually starts from there, where leveraging AI, you can actually tell it what you're trying to do, and then it will set up the things for you. That's the goal of the Impact AI assistant that we have within the application. So over the dashboard here, so in this case, many of the different components have already been set. And here you are able to see an overview of that, right? So what are the objectives that you have? How many pathways that you have linked to these objectives? What's the strategic framework that you have chosen? In this case, it's the theory of change. So you have a very quick overview of how many of these components you have. Now, imagine you're a new team member or just getting started on this project. So this is where you can actually leverage the Impact Assistant over here. So right here, always present on the side, you have the Impact AIQ Assistant, and you can say, all right, give me a summary of this project. So then it will dig through what has been set up, what has not been set up, what is missing, and will give you a quick overview of the status of the project. So overview, what's the strategy framework that has been, and the measurement framework that has been chosen, what are the impact pathways, the different outcomes, etc. Right? So you could also ask it, check for any gaps, for example. So what could be some of the potential gaps that we need to address, which is still missing within this project? So we'll dig through, and I will show you guys later how you can upload data. This is a very important part of the process, where you have to upload your surveys, your interviews, your content of the session, the recaps of the session, and any other surveys or interviews that you have been conducting. Because this is what provides Impact AIQ with with a ground to actually use. So what are the impact? Gaps worth fixing. 2 of the outcomes have no dimension category, no SDG assigned to any of these 17 outcomes. What's solid? Then you can actually ask it to go and fix these things. So this is where the assistant becomes more than just giving you information, but can also act on it and then can actually do things for you. So that's on the dashboard. And the other important screen is on the overview of the project. What you're seeing here are the different pathways. So the pathways are, in fact, you can think of it as different tracks that you are taking to actually deliver the outcomes. So different tracks could be for different stakeholders, right? You could have a track for a government if they are involved, another track for sponsors, or another track for any other stakeholders. So for example, in this one of the track is all about building the capacity for sustainable and regenerative tourism in Chechen, because they are an emerging destination. So this is an important aspect for them. So under this pathway, then you have different initiatives, in this case, 2 initiatives. And then you can drill down like what this initiative, what are the activities that you are planning to do for this initiative? What are the outputs that you're expecting? And what are the outcomes? So midterm outcomes, long-term outcomes. What are the dimensions of the outcomes, as well as the short terms? And the last one are the indicators. So what are the different indicators that you can keep an eye on, which will make sure that you are progressing along your this pathway. And maybe just to show you, so there is the strategy framework that you can choose. In this case, it's theory of change. So this is where Meet for Impact has also done quite a heavy lifting in terms of codifying the measurement framework or the strategy framework. But if you have your own, you can also bring it and we can upload it into the application, because all of these framework would more or less have the same kind of structure in the background, but the dimensions could be different. So the weight of the different dimensions could be different. So this one in particular, you can see here how it translates into the different dimensions. Then another one could be different. Then there's also the measurement framework that can be different. And over here is all about the different initiatives and activities. I think the other thing worth pointing out would be the file uploads. So that was the other big challenge in the past, because the data that is needed to measure the impact of events is very fragmented and very diversified. So there's audio files, there are text files, you might have videos, you might have spreadsheets, so multiple different formats. So consuming that and digesting that is a real challenge. And where AI can help in this case. So over here, you can just upload almost, I will not say all types of data or files, but almost any type of files. And Impact AIQ would be able to analyze it, transcribe it, and then digest it, and really index it and put it into the database so that it's easily queryable, searchable, and that can then be used to link the different chain of cause and effect throughout the application. So you can see here, there are interviews, there are surveys. Some of these are audio files, some of these are text files. So you have a bunch of different formats. And really the last step would be about the report, right? Because that's the whole idea here. And that's the other real value that AI brings, is that from the same set of data, you can actually generate reports for different stakeholders. So because data is really the core thing here, but it's about which part of the data you pick and what kind of story do you write for the different stakeholders. So that as well is where AI can really help. And in this case, again, that project has already been kind of completed in this demo. So that's why all of these analyses have already been run on the different initiatives, and where you can also see the actual report that you want that can be generated. And over here, you can, again, you have the AI assistant. You can do tweaks to the report. You can actually, in fact, change it right here and edit it. And of course, you can download a PDF, which would already be very well formatted, branded. If you have a brand guideline, it will be branded to your brand. Just to show you an example here, how it looks like. So this is the one that was generated. Very simple layout in this case, but well structured with all the different details, and picking from the database whatever data sources are required. Let me take a quick pause here in case if we have any question.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan, thanks for that. There are a couple
Yeah.
of questions. I think Kira has answered a couple
Okay.
already. But one from Tracy is that she would be interested to know how organizations are handling consent, IP, and copyright in relation to SnapSite summaries. Is that
To SnapSite.
Yeah. Is that anything people should be concerned with?
So yeah, it's always a concern. It's always a question on their mind. So there's different aspect to that. So one is in terms of our own platform itself. So we do abide to the most common or the most stringent regulations. So in terms of data security and privacy, whether it's GDPR in Europe or PDPA, or I forgot the name in the US. So one is at the platform level. The second question would also be from, that comes from the organization perspective, because what we've also been hearing is some reluctance from speakers, because now that they know, or now that whatever they're going to say is going to be captured, so that becomes kind of something that they're not very comfortable with. So in that case, what our customers or some of our customers have been doing is to actually ask the permission from the speakers or whoever is moderating, to make it very explicit that, we're using SnapSite and it's going to be captured, but also, of course, reassuring them that about the whole data privacy aspect. And because with these, by abiding to these regulations, so we are bound to delete the data after X amount of time. So this is what these are some of the things which are put into place.
I would think it would probably be a good best practice, Jonathan, to ask for that from speakers, I would think. I think it couldn't hurt, right?
Yes, exactly. And this is getting more and more common nowadays. So initially it was a very new ground, right? Nobody really knew about that. So it was kind of the Wild West. Everybody was doing whatever they want. So now it's getting more structured. More organizers know about it, and they are putting that in their process. Exactly. Yeah.
And one quick thing to add as well is that there's also an option of kind of making certain sessions private. So in that case, that also kind of allows you to segment if, let's say, you don't want to give everyone access to a VIP roundtable, which has some confidential or follows Chatham House rules, but you need to give only specific people access. You can enable that one-time password kind of a thing, more like a code that then becomes that whole summary becomes password protected, if that makes sense. So there are these kind of features that are being requested, in fact, for some events as well, especially for confidential conferences and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Yep. And yep, so on the demo side, that's what I had on my side. So now if there's any question, we're happy to take, whether it's on Spark or on Impact or SnapSite.
I think just not a question, Jonathan, just a repeat of what was going on in the chat, as Nigel already pointed out. Carrot answered it, but for those who missed it, the questions were around SnapSite's ability to access medical terminology and things for associations, perhaps that had some vocabulary that wasn't as common. So yes, they do have that, and I believe Carrot, you offered to send some examples of that to people who are interested. So you can DM Carrot if you'd like a copy of that. I know Cindy and Tracy both did, so that's great.
Yeah. Awesome. I'll be sending that over. Yeah.
I had a question around the Impact AIQ platform. So, like you rightly said, like it's measuring is the holy grail when it comes to, you know, the impacts of business events, and there's a lot of stakeholders involved. So, are you able to give people limited access so that they can contribute, upload data to that platform?
Yeah. We have the basic into place, but I think there's still more that we can do. And you're exactly right, because there's different stakeholders that need to do different actions within the platform. So even at the organizers level themselves, so there needs to be the tiers of permissions, like who can do what, who can upload what, or who can generate the report. But even in terms of the personas of the users, because for example, what we've also been seeing is in some context, in some cases, the destinations are involved, but only from in terms of looking at the metrics and the data at the high level, while the organizers are those who are implementing it and who are actually using it. So different perspectives based on the same data, but different perspective of what they can see based on the rights and the permissions that they have. Yeah. So that's going to be built within the platform. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions for Jonathan or Karat? Nige, you see any out there? I don't think I see any.
Well, I do have a question. Well, first of all, congratulations, because I think it's pretty amazing what you guys have accomplished. You know, it really saves a lot of time, and for sure it makes life more productive in less time, you know. So I guess my question is more related to is there an opportunity? I mean, I'm thinking from a DMO perspective, how we interact directly with associations and in which way we might be able to add value as well, right? So when you talk about, for instance, let's say an energy association, right, that is coming to a destination, how can we add value from our perspective? One of the ways that we do this is by, for instance, they ask us in many occasions to put us in contact with you know, corporate partners that might be able to bring in sponsorships, right? So I was thinking from that perspective, is there like a way for a DMO to also interact with the SnapSite in such a way that we might be able to bring those contacts or directly AI to be able to identify, depending on the destination, which of these companies align to the association sector, to the theme, and bring value as well.
In fact, that would be a very relevant one in Spark, I would say, because within Spark, so we don't exactly have this type of task today, but Spark, and the whole idea of Spark is that it can connect to different, and we are going to open connections to different other platforms, so data points. So in this case here, it could be connected to, and we can see like which would be the most relevant database to which it should be connected, where then you would be able to search, if I understand correctly what you're looking for, right? So we'll be able to search for sponsors for in a particular sector maybe, and who are looking for whom this organizer or this conference is going to be a good match, right? So this is the kind of search level that would be possible. We don't have it today in Spark, but if one of these platforms would be able to deliver that, I think it would be Spark in this case. I think it's a good idea. It's a great
Yeah.
idea.
I think just to add as well, very aligned with what John is mentioning, regarding within Spark, we already have a connection with data sources like Destinator, which connects Spark to like a validated data source. So in that case, currently users within Spark are able to, for example, search for destinations based on their requirements and so on and so forth. But what you're what you're talking about is a little bit of a flip side where it could be, so yes, from a workflow perspective, that should be possible within Spark. And might be very interesting for us to see as well, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to kind of be in front of more people, but also to some level be able to understand what they are interested in and searching for. So I think, yeah, that might be a pretty cool angle for us to look at within Spark.
Thank you.
I love it. Daniel's given you some new ideas. I think that's great. Quick, very basic question. With Spark, what is the relationship with you and PCMA at this point? Like, is it proprietary to a degree to PCMA? Do you have to be a PCMA member to access Spark? What does that currently look like?
I'll take that. You can just sign up on Spark, so it's basically you could access it for free as well. We've got over 14,700 users already using it, so you don't technically need to be a member. Of course, if you're a member, you do get access to more learning and education courses. But at the same time, it is, yes, free, but also the pro version is like a $19. The cool thing with Spark is that it kind of aggregates different models. So it also gives you access to Anthropic and Gemini and ChatGPT rather than just kind of restricting you to one kind of a model. So you can actually sign up online as well.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
I have a bit of an out there question, maybe, but what do you think is coming up next? I mean, we've just had, it's going so fast at the moment, and I guess you guys have a better sight on what's coming up. So anything that you could share where you think things are going, or something that we should be aware of where things are heading?
Gonna take over the world. But no, yeah, I think it's a great question. It's something that is always on our mind. There's many different aspects to it. So from a technology perspective, maybe we can address this. It might be the simpler and shorter one, because there's the philosophical aspect, the societal aspect, the economic aspect. From technology, which is where we are coming from, I think the obvious one is the agentic aspect of this whole breed of AI. So it has been in the making for more than 1 to 2 years now, because the very first agent was already used more than 2 years ago. But I think today you're really seeing the actual application of agents. And that's going to have a lot of impact, even in terms of the software that we build, in fact. So today, we are still using our good old software, like how we used to know it, good old SaaS software with a UI, with a menu, and you click here, click there. So to some extent, it's still the same thing. So this is probably going to change drastically. So in like 1 to 2 years from now, it's going to be very different, because the software that you're going to use is going to be generative and on the fly. So you could think of it as, whatever you need at a particular point can be generated on the fly based on the needs that you have. Then after that, that's it. It's disposable. You don't even need to use it again if you don't want, right? And that changes a lot of things in terms of the economics. Like, what are you paying for? Who are you paying to? Who's hosting this? And who's building that? So from our perspective, where we are building software, this is one of the things which is on top of our mind. And then, of course, for the user as well, it's going to change a lot of things. Experiencing AI, experiencing software is going to change over time. We have, from a hardware perspective, we haven't really seen it's there. You have the meta glasses, you have the Claude that can record what you're talking about and give you the insights. So we're still seeing the beginnings of that. It's going to probably become more common and more standard over the next year. So that's going to be another track in terms of hardware wearables. I think it's going to be more and more common as well.
Great.
I think
Well, thanks.
just to also add one thing that still kind of remains extremely crucial, which, by the way, we're not saying that because we're coming from the technology side, but when we meet people in person and we go to in-person events, I think that value still remains and is extremely, extremely important. So the industry actually should thrive in this time, because to be honest, right now, you don't know what you can trust on the internet and what you're seeing out there. In fact, right now we're doing this live and everyone can kind of see everyone, and that's a whole human touch that most of us are gonna crave for. But more generally speaking, I think that human aspect is gonna be very, very important as well. Yeah.
That's a very nice note to end on, Kara, because we all want that for sure, especially in the business that we're in. Very important. So we love the use of technology. Thank you so much to both of you from Gevme for coming out and going through all these tools. Lots of good information there. As Nigel mentioned earlier, these will all be put on an outcomes that you'll see the information on the bestcities.net website tomorrow. And again, thank you very much for the presentation. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you all of you for joining us. So we're right on the time with right on the money with our time. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day or evening, everyone, no matter where you are in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye.